Hello, this workshop is on calendaring for instructors. I'm Carol Sabar and this is fall 2020. All right, so why use calendars at all? First of all, you need to keep yourself organized so that you know when your activities and classes and meetings and things are. And the second, more important goal is to keep your students organized so that they know when their due dates, their class meetings, their quizzes, and so forth all are. This will help them know what activities happen when and what items are due on what days. It will provide what they and you need in one easy place, primarily on Google Calendar. Also, you can schedule meetings in a flash. All right, so the tools that we're going to use in here are Zoom, Schoology, Google Calendar, and then the Google Calendar on your phone. Google Calendar is the center of all of this. Zoom isn't really necessary if you don't use Zoom. If you use something else or don't do that kind of teaching, that's fine too. All right, Google Calendar is the key to everything. We're also going to talk a little bit about Google Groups and the way that they can help facilitate this. Zoom or Google Meet, Schoology, in your phone. Groups is optional, but you can create a Google group that contains all the email addresses of your students. You'll need to name it something that's pretty unique. You can't just name it class or my class or French class or French 201 because there might be multiple classes with that same title, and these need to be unique across the entire system at Carthage. So I'd recommend something like the course code, your name, and then the semester that it is. This will help you to invite your students to your class times and also to share documents in Google Docs. All right, it's also optional to set up your Zoom sessions in advance. If you're going to use Zoom, you'll want to go in and click the schedule a meeting and then take the information from your meeting and get ready to paste that into the invitation and into the calendar information in either Google Calendar or Schoology, or preferably both. Redundancy is a good thing in this case. The more ways that students find out that, oh no, I've got a class session I have to be at on Zoom, the better off you are. All right, so let's go ahead and create our course in Google Calendar. So I'm going to go to my email, which I could do through the Carthage website or some other way, but I'm just going to get to my mail. And then I'm going to use the waffle button up here to go to Calendar. All right, so we know that classes are going to start a little early this year, so we're going to go ahead and go to September, and we know that classes are going to start on Wednesday the 2nd. So let's go ahead and go to that week. I like the weekly view in Calendar. And let's say that my class runs from 1 to 2:10. I don't know what time the classes really run, but let's say that it does. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put in from 1 until, let's say, 2:15 instead. Extra 5 minutes won't hurt anything. So I'm going to put in the name of the class. I want to name it something that's going to make sense to my students, not just to me, because they're going to all see it on their calendars as well. Then I'm going to click more options down here because I've got a lot of different things I want to fill out. So this says does not repeat, but this is going to be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. So I need to do a custom, and I need to say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'm going to tell it that it's going to end on December the 7th, which I think is about the last day. It's when final exam starts. I should really figure that out. Okay, so now I'm done with that. If I was using Google Meet, I could easily just click right here, create Google Meet, no problem. If I'm going to need to do a Zoom, I'm going to need to add that information down here in the description. I can do that now, I can do it later. Doesn't matter either way. You should be able to have the same Zoom for the entire semester, or the same Google Meet in your calendar. All right, then I'm going to add my guests. I can add my students individually here by name, for example, or if I already have a Google group set up, like this one, I can put that in, and it's going to show me that there are 10 students in this class. Here's who they are. You'll notice that they're all faculty and staff and so forth, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, it'll tell you who they are. All right, that's essentially about it. Now when you go to save, you can tell them it either to send an invitation to all of your students or not to send. I would go ahead, bug them as much as you want so that it'll show up there. Right now, I'm not going to do this since this is a bunch of faculty on my screen. All right, that essentially is my Google Calendar class. And you'll notice that this is going to show up here and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at that time. If you have something that you intend to, for example, have a day off, there was that reading day that's in the middle of the semester, October the 14th, I think. All you have to do is click here and click the garbage can, and then say that you only want to delete this event. And that will take just that one day off of your calendar. So if you've got individual meetings that you want to change, that's the way to do it. All right, let's get back to our presentation here. Okay, so we created our course in Google Calendar. Now what we're going to want to do is go to Schoology to populate our deadlines and activities. We want to make sure that our assignments, our discussion boards, and our quizzes have due dates, and anything that doesn't really have a due date because it's not an assignment, we can put onto our Schoology calendar. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Schoology. And in Schoology, I want to go ahead and go to whatever course that I have. All right, I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for a quiz that's in week 4. Here it is right here. And I want to make sure that this quiz has an actual due date. So I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to create a due date here. Let's go to September. This is week 4. So let's say September the 25th is when my quiz is due. It's 20 points. Go into the category that you have. You can create a new one called quizzes and so on. Hopefully I've already have my thing set up in advance, right? The scale and blah, 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 blah. Published to the students, yes, there's no reason to leave it unpublished for now, and so on and so on. Okay, I'm going to save that. Oh, one of the things that you'll notice is that if you do your due date too late in the evening, like 11:59 p.m., it will show up really late on the student's calendar, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to choose a time which would be right before class. So my class was at 1 o'clock. I'm going to say 12:59 p.m. is fine. Okay, so right before class. And then I save my changes. Okay, so now when I go up here to my calendar, this is the calendar icon, I should be able to see this by switching to September. And here's my quiz for week 4. Okay, and so students can use this calendar within Schoology, and it will show them all of the different things from all of their different classes. So they can use this to really stay organized. And when they click on this, it will allow them to actually view the item. In this case, I'm the faculty person, so mine says edit, but they wouldn't be able to edit it. But they would be able to go directly to it and go ahead and take the quiz on that day. All right, let's just get back out of it. Now, if I have another thing, let's say, for example, on the September 2nd, I want to go ahead and put my Zoom and so forth in here. I can click on that day, and then I can tell it that I want to add an event, that it's on the 2nd, and that it is at 1 p.m. And this is first class meeting, and so on. Okay. This might be redundant with the Google Calendar, but it's up to you, like I said, how many of these different things that you want. So connect via Zoom. And here is where I would paste the information from my Zoom invitation. And there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and create that. Okay, very good. That's here. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do, go back to our presentation, is connect my Schoology calendar to my Google Calendar. And this is sort of like magic. So here I am back in Schoology, back in the calendar, where I just had added and created a bunch of these things. And I actually want to export. I know this sounds like it's going to do it only once, but it will really not only export all of the items from my Schoology calendar over to Google, but it will also create sort of a tunnel and a connection between the two calendars. All right, so I want to share the calendar, and I want to take this, okay, copy and paste it. So right click, copy link address. Okay, I'll close that up. Now I'm going to go back to my calendar, and I'm going to scroll down here past all these other calendars to where it says Other Calendars and click plus. Here's where I'm going to add a calendar from a URL, and this is where I'm going to Control V or right click and paste that calendar from Schoology. I don't want to make it publicly accessible, I just want to see it. Okay. And that should do it. All right, I'm going to go back. All right, so once I return to my calendar, I want to scroll down, and you'll notice that I have a Schoology calendar showing down here in green. And I want to make sure that I see that Schoology calendar in my calendar. And here you go. Now you can see it. You can see the class meetings, you can see the introduction, you can see session 2, and so on and so on. In some cases, like I said, if you have something that's due really late at night, it's going to show up way down here, and that's not what you want. So I would want to change those due dates so that they're not 11:59 p.m., but sometime right before my class starts. Makes sense. All right. Now, okay, back to our presentation. Now we want to be able to add the Zoom info to our Google Calendar course sessions. So let's go back to Zoom. So I'm going to click My Account, and from there I can schedule meetings. Okay, so now I can schedule that very first class meeting on September the 2nd. And that's going to be at 1 p.m. And it will last for roughly an hour and 15 minutes. Unfortunately, I can't make it an hour and 5 or an hour and 10. It needs to be some multiple of 15 minutes. Okay, this is also a recurring meeting. And so I'm going to tell it that these are going to be weekly, and they're going to be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, it also is going to end on December the 7th. It's a Monday. Okay, very good. Now, do I want to require a password? No, not really. You could if you were worried about people crashing your class, but at this point, I shouldn't have to do that. Set up your Zoom meeting the way that you normally would for lots of other things, and then go ahead and click Save. All right, now you'll notice that there's all this information here. I can take this copy invitation and I can choose this whole thing. All right, so Control C to copy that. And now I'm going to go back to my Google Calendar where I was before, find probably the first iteration of that class, right? Although it shouldn't matter much. Okay, so here's my class. I'm going to go ahead and edit the class, and I'm going to, down here in the description, paste that Zoom information. So there it is down there. Okay. When I click Save, it's going to want to know whether I want to change it to only this event. I want it to do all the events, so that this will be in absolutely every single event on my student's calendar and on my own calendar. I never have to worry about, well, which one was this in? All right, now the last step that I would suggest is that you add your Google Calendar on your phone, okay? Put the Google Calendar app on your phone. Don't try to connect it to the built-in calendar app. Might work at the beginning, and then a couple weeks later it'll decide something changed. Just go into the App Store, the Google Store, depending on what kind of phone you have, and load the Google Calendar app. Then once you log in with your carthage.edu account, it will just automatically flow over. The only time you'll ever have to do anything really about it will be when you change your password. And that's about it. As long as you have your notifications set up, your phone will then ding you 10 minutes in advance or however you have your notifications set up. I would have your students walk through this same exact process at the very beginning of class so that their phone is also reminding them that it's time for your class. Thanks so much. Bye.